Hello viewers and welcome to yet another live-action commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch, and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present you with a game between Ragnar Blackmane, on the left played by none other than Alexander Cimadon, provisioner of this footage today, up against a man by the name of Troels Berthelsen. To the right, playing none other than the Ork faction Warlord Old Zogwort. As our players decide whether or not they want to keep their opening hands in assessing our opening layout of planets. Planet number 1 happens to be Taurus, the planet which rewards players for keeping their unit count lower than that of their opponent. Planet number 2 is going to be Parlus, the random card discard planet. Planet number 3 is going to be Yvarn, which allows players to put any unit from their hand into play into their HQ. Planet number 4 is going to be Karnath, which allows for the triggering of any other battle ability in play. And planet number 5 is going to be Planum, which allows for the movement of non-warlord units. Looks as though Alexander to the left happens to have the initiative token. His first play is a rogue trader to planet number 1, and it looks as though Zogwort ended up putting a copy of the staging ground into play in his HQ, which is potentially going to allow him to ambush in up to 2 cost units from his hand at an action speed, so most likely during combat to opportunistically attack. But Alexander to the left puts out a copy of Void Pirate, so a lot of very strong early game economy cards here. It looks as though neither of our players actually took the opportunity to take a mulligan. We see a Daka, a 2-cost orc event, which necessitates Old Zogwort there in the HQ exhaust, but it's going to be 1 point of damage dealt out to every individual unit in play, so that's potentially spectacular, seeing as how the first couple actions here from Zogwort were basically deploy stalls. Note that that rogue trader, that void pirate, both of those are in danger of being destroyed. Looks as though we see an Indomitable and a Nocturne Ultima Stormbolter discarded by Ragnar Blackmane as shields to preserve the life of the Void Pirate and Rogue Trader pair there. So we see yet another play from Alexander. It's going to be a Blackmane Sentinel sitting on planet number 3, and that is going to be a tremendous wealth of command. And note that as Old Zogwort is going to commit to a planet exhausted, he's not going to be able to win command by default. So our Orc player definitely took a little bit of a gamble there in such a potentially upsetting early game play, but it might come back and bite him just because he's going to be doing so poor financially during this upcoming command phase. But Iron Guard recruits to the right, planet number 5, 2 command icons trumps 1, so that's going to be 2 resources and 1 card denied of Alexander at planet number 5, and we see a second copy of the Blackmane Sentinel put out to planet number 2. So yet again, just a tremendous amount of potential economic income here to the left for Alexander, and if need be, Ragnar Blackmane can basically beckon forth, reel in those Blackmane Sentinels to himself if he needs backup. But a copy of the Evil Sun's Warbiker sits out at planet number 1. The initiative token is going to be in Alexander's hand, so he could send Ragnar to planet number 1. It looks as though he's got 2 resource tokens left, which could be enough for a drop pod assault. It could be enough for an eager recruit or 2. If both warlords go to planet number 1, Ragnar will have the opportunity to deal 2 points of damage to whatever target he would like. Looks as though Zogwort's going to go to planet number 4, and of course Ragnar is going to go to planet number 1 to try to win the icon associated with that planet. Looks as though we could see a victory condition as early as planet number 3, and it looks as though Alexander's going to decide to pull one of the Blackmane Sentinels to planet number 1. So he's going to basically give up 1 resource token by doing that, but it still could pay off for him. So it's going to be 1 card, 1 resource at planet number 1 for Ragnar, 2 cards, planet number 2 for Ragnar, and once again, planet number 4, because Zogwort is exhausted, is going to be 2 cards, 1 resource for Alexander, and planet number 5 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource to the right for Zogwort. So let's hope for Zogwort sake he ended up getting something pretty good. Looks as though Alexander's presently sitting upon something along the lines of maybe 4 resource tokens or so. Zogwort, it looks as though, has 1 resource token. I'm not frankly aware of any Orc faction events that only cost 1 that could be beneficial in this situation. We could see something along the lines of a suppressive fire, but seeing as how he's only got 1 unit present, that isn't going to be tremendously useful. So we see the Blackmane Sentinel take a swing at the Evil Sun's Warbiker. The Evil Sun's Warbiker, it looks like, was preserved by a shield card we could not see. Must have been a 2 shield icon card, because we see no damage dealt to the Evil Sunz Warbiker. It happens to get +2 attack while it's at the same planet as a Warlord, and that's going to be 4 whopping points of damage dealt out to Ragnar there. Ragnar, in turn, takes a swing, and now it's going to be, there we go, the Evil Sunz Warbiker is destroyed, but it was definitely at the cost of being able to put out some damage onto Ragnar here, so it looks as though we do see the staging ground used. That shoot a mob drops into play for the cost of 1 resource. We see a crushing blow discarded, used as a shield in order to basically block one of those points of damage there, so that was not threatening the bloodying of Ragnar, a 7 hit point Warlord, but that is indeed going to be 2 hit points left on our Space Wolves Warlord there. So Taurus is captured by Alexander. He has far too many units with which to trigger that ability. I believe he has a grand total of, well, I think at the time he had 5 relative to Zogwart's 3. So combat comes and goes. That Snotling token is destroyed. We saw that copy of the Void Pirate at planet number 4 destroyed by that Snotling's token, and it looks as though Karnath's random, well, basically Karnath triggered Barless to do a random card discard from Alexander's hand, and that ended up being a copy of the Tactical Squad Cardenas. We see our HQ phase come and go. That's going to be 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our players. New planet number 5 is going to be Ossus 4, the Steal a Resource planet. So wherever Ragnar goes, he's got a Blackmane Sentinel that's going to follow. He's got a Blackmane Sentinel nicely positioned at planet number 1, ready. There's a shoot-a-mob in the HQ of our Orc player there. Looks like he decided to retreat that from planet number 1. Pretty wise, seeing as how Ragnar had the initiative token that would have resulted in that shoot-a-mob, a 1 hit point unit, being likely outright destroyed. Very curious play here. Something we don't often always see is it's not an Iron Halo. It's actually Frostfang that we see played out to Ragnar. So whenever he happens to be at the same planet as Old Zogwort, he's going to be attacking for 4, and he's going to have an additional 2 hit points, although that effect is indeed ephemeral. So the instant that, say, combat ends and Ragnar bounces back to the HQ, if he happens to have, say, 7 points of damage or 8, he's going to be immediately bloodied. The Frostfang is just going to let him stay in battle a little bit longer than he otherwise would. But speaking of signature army units, we see a Zogwart's Runt Herders, planet number 1. It's a 1/3 with 1 command. As soon as it takes a point of damage, you put a 1/1 Snotling token into play. So Old Zogwort generates a 1/1 token whenever he commits to a planet, whenever he's declared as an attacker, and whenever those Runt Herders take damage, like if he plays another Daka Daka Daka, that'll be another copy of Snotlings. So we see an Honored Librarian at planet number 1, and that is going to pose a significant threat to Zogwort, because that's going to be very difficult to deal with. Zogwort normally excels in regard to dealing out a lot of small attacks, and that Honored Librarian hits like a truck as a 4/2 unit. So some more plays here. Looks like we've got a Rogue Trader for Zogwort at planet number 5, played opposite an Iron Guard Recruits by Alexander, so the 2 command icons there from Alexander trumps the 1s. That's going to allow him to win at that planet. We've got a new Rogue Trader for Ragnar at planet number 3. And then we ended up seeing a promotion on the Zogwart's Runt Herders at planet number 1. So let's see where Zogwort goes. Let's see where Ragnar goes. Definitely if Ragnar goes to planet number 1 or planet number 2, that's going to set him up favorably for potentially winning the game as early as planet number 3. But what, if anything, can Zogwort seek to do to prevent him? It would certainly, I think, make some sense for Zogwort to try to go to planet number 1 to maybe try to stop that Space Marine death train there, or otherwise he could just set up his shoot-a-mob at planet number 1, but I think he's definitely going to have to do something sooner rather than later, just because things are looking a little bit dire and desperate for him. So definitely not to my surprise, I suppose we see Ragnar go to planet number 2, set up for the following round, and we see Zogwort touch down on planet number 1 to try to resist the Space Marine opposition there. So, by quite a significant margin, Zogwart's going to win command at the first planet. His Warlord's there. That's going to be 2 cards to the right. And planet number 2 is going to be 1 resource for Alexander. Planet number 3 is going to be 2 resources, 1 card for Alexander. Whereas planet number 4 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Troels. Planet number 5 is going to be a grand total of 2 resources over to the left to Alexander, because that Rogue Trader's nicely trumped. Our combat round is about to begin, and the initiative token is, of course, in Zogwart's hand, plus he's got his Warlord there, so he basically steals initiative, akin to tabletop 40k, but without the trouble of dice rolling. Interestingly, staging ground very early at the just onset of combat, ends up putting out a copy of the Tallarn Raiders, a 2-attack unit. They take a swing and successfully kill a ready copy of the Blackmane Sentinel, and all of a sudden, we'd better hope for Alexander's sake he's got an Eager Recruit or Drop Pod Assault or some sort of nasty surprise like that, because all of a sudden that 4-2 Honored Librarian is extraordinarily exposed. So we see that Librarian take a swing at Zogwort. Looks like a 2-shield card that I missed was employed as shields, and that's going to be 4 hit points remaining for Zogwort. So the Honored Librarian is outright killed. I am not sure if that was from the Runt Herder and or Snotling token, but I guess no actions for our Space Marine at planet number 1, and he's basically going to give up Barlas. That's going to be our second random card discarded from Alexander's hand. Let's hope for Zogwart's sake it's something good. What is it going to be? Number 3 is on the dice. So let's see. Another copy of Tactical Squad Cardenas. So that's definitely 2 Area Effect 1 units that could, in all likelihood, be superb, particularly against Old Zogwort. So definitely a value card, great for the money. 2 resources for a 1/3 Area Effect 1 with a command icon, but Area Effect does work when you need to destroy just scads and swaths of Snotlings tokens. But HQ phase, it has arrived. 4 resources, 2 cards for each player. New planet number 5 is Aatrox Prime. It deals 1 damage to an adjacent planet, which would be Ossus 4, planet number 4, or target player's HQ. So, Blackmane Sentinel is favorably positioned at planet number 1. The victory condition here for Alexander is as early as our new planet number 2 through red material icons, and if we go strictly through strong point, we could see a victory by Old Zogwort at planet number 3. But, curious choice here, veteran brother Maxos touches down on planet number 1. He's basically a lieutenant type unit, a unique from the core set. He's got the combat action where you can basically just pay for any Space Marine card that you'd like and put it into play on the table, so it's akin to an ambush, and that is just absolutely fantastic. Normally Ragnar doesn't have near the resource generation that Kato does, so that's an unconventional Ragnar pick for sure, but it definitely could do some work for our Space Marine in that if he doesn't need to overinvest in units, then that's potentially a pretty significant savings here. But a promotion from Alexander to planet number 3 on that Rogue Trader, allowing him to potentially get the 2 resources and 1 card associated with planet number 3, thanks to the Rogue Trader's +1 resource bonus. We see a promotion go out to planet number 4 on the Rogue Trader of Troels, so that's going to be basically just the same trick there. Rogue Trader beats Iron Guard recruits. Planet number 2, we ended up seeing a copy of Snakebite Thug, so it looks, unless Staging Ground does something really nasty, that planet number 1 is going to go entirely uncontested to Alexander. So where's Ragnar going to go? I could definitely see... Well, I suppose I could really see any planet. Planet number 1, I suppose, he's playing it safe. Didn't want to go to planet number 2 to fight the Snakebite Thug without any backup. Note, something important is that veteran brother Maxos, whenever he puts a unit into play, he can do that even if he's exhausted, but the units he puts into play are definitely not going to be exhausted, which is definitely going to be critical come the next round, I can only imagine. So, it looks like Zogwort indeed went to planet number 3, so looks like planet number 1 is going to be 1 resource for Ragnar. Planet number 2 is going to be a tie. Planet number 3 is going to be 1 card and 1 resource for... it looks like our Zogwort player, because of the presence of Zogwort at that planet. Planet number 4 is going to be 2 resources for Zogwort, and planet number 5 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Ragnar. So planet number 1 was indeed 1. Are we going to see a unit put into play? I have no idea what Zogwort has in hand. If he has any cards at all, I can only see something along the lines of maybe 1 or 2 cards at most in Alexander's hand, and it looks like a 10th Company Scout and then something not tremendously useful. So Zogwort ends up quite handily destroying that copy of Rogue Trader there at our planet number 3. So Zogwart's going to bounce back to the HQ. Ragnar's going to bounce back to the HQ. That victory at Yvonne, the battle ability, of course, going untriggered, means that Ragnar could potentially win the game as early as our new planet number 1 here. So it's going to be all up to Zogwort. Zogwort doesn't necessarily need to win this planet to fuel his victory condition, but he definitely needs to do that to block off his opponent. And by going to the planet that he did, he dropped off that copy of Zogwart's Runt Herders and shoot a mob to a planet where he doesn't, it's not he's at imminent risk of losing the game, is what I'm trying to say, and that Shoot-a-Mob and the Runt Herders are doing him absolutely no good at the planet Planum. It looks as though we did see Planum activated by Zogwort to shift the Tallarn Raiders from our then Planet 3 to our current Planet number 1, if that wasn't confusing. So, as soon as Ragnar shows up at that planet, they're going to be attacking for 2. We see a copy of Iron Guard recruits put out to Planet number 1. Granted, Zogwort has a lot of resources, but that's definitely not the most formidable combat unit in the world. Speaking of the most formidable combat unit in the world, definitely one of the 3-cost contenders. We see Blood Angels veterans at Planet number 1 from Ragnar. 3/3, prevent 1 damage dealt to it so long as it's ready. And then we see another copy of Tallarn Raiders to the right there. So Zogwort is bringing in some heavy firepower thanks to his AM allies. And now what exactly is Ragnar going to do to try to oppose the enemy here? His Warlord only has 2 hit points remaining, but presuming that Zogwort indeed is going to go to Planet number 1, that means Ragnar would be attacking for 4, so maybe it would not even be the wisest move for Zogwort to go to Planet number 1, although he will be potentially generating some Snotlings tokens there. So maybe he'll show up just to get bloodied early, or maybe he'll show up and then Ragnar can deal out some tremendous amounts of damage to other units, but it looks like we saw, I guess, a second copy of Iron Guard recruits to Planet number 4, or Planet number 3, though I'm not sure I was paying the most rapt attention to that planet, and then a Shoot-a-Mob also played out to Planet number 3 to tie command there. So Zogwort and Ragnar both go to Planet number 1. Things are about to get real. We see a Snotlings token generated. It's going to be a 1/1 little Goblin Orc unit. Technically, I guess not a Squig. Ragnar has a copy of, I can't tell if that's a Primal Howl or not in his hand, but he's got at least 1 copy of 10th Company Scout. So Planet number 1 looks like, comparing command icons, definitely that's going to be a victory for Zogwort there. That's 1 card, 1 resource. Zogwort gets 1 card, 1 resource at Planet number 2. We indeed see a copy of Primal Howl, so that's going to be 3 cards as a reaction for Ragnar. It looks as though Ragnar's ability managed to outright destroy a copy of Tallarn Raiders, so definitely not a bad value play there. Planet number 3 is going to be a tie, and then Planet number 4 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Ragnar, and of course veteran Brother Maxos is sitting there chilling at the first planet, and that's going to be a fantastic opportunity to drop all kinds of nasty Space Marine units into play. One of the big problems with the Orks is they don't necessarily have a lot of surprises. There's no eager recruit style unit, so if veteran Brother Maxos gets to the point where he could potentially be in jeopardy of being outright killed, Alexander could basically just take that opportunity to lay out all the units in his hand. Otherwise, he can kind of deploy them piecemeal as need be to deal out as many just individual instances of damage possible to the enemy here. So it looks like the initiative token does happen to be in the possession of Old Zogwort here, so he's going to have the first opportunity to attack. What exactly are we going to see? Old Zogwort himself takes a swing, and he's going to try to deal out 1 point of damage to Ragnar. So thanks to Frostfang, Ragnar is currently a 4/9 just monster, and it looks as though we might see that damage successfully assigned. Keep in mind, I definitely saw a Drop Pod Assault and a Crushing Blow in Alexander's hands, and that is going to spell not cool for our Orc player. But a copy of Blackmane's Hunt discarded as shields means that Ragnar can stay and keep attacking for 4, potentially over multiple combat rounds, but that Snakebite Thug may have something to say about Ragnar staying at that planet. It might try to evict him, as it were. But Ragnar takes a swing. Is he going to take a pot shot at Old Zogwort? I guess Zogwort generated another 1/1 Snotling token as soon as he happened to be declared an attacker. That Drop Pod Assault in Alexander's hand could possibly pull a copy of Tactical Squad Cardenas into play. Looks like we see a Snotlings token generated, and that means only one thing. It means I missed the Zogwart's Hovel being played into Troels' HQ at some point. So Zogwort was declared a defender. Let's hope those 2 resources and 1 card were worth it. That was a very expensive Snotlings token, but Zogwort is bloodied The Snakebite Thug takes a swing, and I can only imagine that the target is Ragnar, and we see a copy of the signature event Launch de Snots, which means that as, I believe, a reaction speed, it's going to be +3 attack to the Snakebite Thug. That's going to be a grand total of 6 damage, and it looks like there's no Indomitable or anything along those lines, so Ragnar, regardless of how much damage he had, I think it was 5, he takes a massive, swing of 6, and now he's sent packing away from that planet. So the Snakebite Thug, I believe, launched to Snots is only a 1 attack effect. And now what are we going to see here? It's going to be our Space Marine player's opportunity to put out a copy of the 10th Company Scout for but a single resource. It's like an augmented version of the Eager Recruit, since it's got an additional command icon, though that's unlikely to matter at this point. Note that there are no warlords left at the first planet, so that Talarn Raiders is attacking for 0, and that's a Snotling token destroyed by the 10th Company Scout there, so there's only a finite number of those tokens left. Looks like the Iron Guard recruits are going to take a swing, and that was a very strange play. Kill off that Rogue Trader. I can't think of actually any beneficial value of doing that, as opposed to killing off the 10th Company Scout. Really, all the worthwhile units were already gone. And even though Alexander's demonstrated that he's allied with AM, I can't imagine him having a suppressive fire in a Ragnar deck. But Drop Pot Assault goes down, so that's 2 resources. What exactly is Alexander definitely did not pull the most favorable Space Marine unit. He got another copy of the 10th Company Scout, so it's only going to be able to attack for 2. I'm sure he'd have loved to see a copy of the Honored Librarian, perhaps, or another copy of Blood Angels Veterans, but the 10th Company Scout is going to take a swing. Is it going to be at the Snakebite Thug? No, it's going to be at a Snotling token, so that's another unit that was ready that is now destroyed. That Snakebite Thug has already dealt itself a point of damage from attacking. We see the Talarn Raiders attack for 0, but it doesn't really matter what exactly they attack. Now it's going to be the time for the Blood Angels Veterans. They are going to kill that 1 remaining Snotling token, and that is going to be gone. We see the Staging Ground. Okay, so we do not see Staging Ground exhaust to the right. And we actually maybe see somebody change their mind. So, okay, so our players must have had a little bit of a chat, so I guess the Blood Angels Veterans instead took a swing at the Snakebite Thug there, so a little bit of a takesy-backsies. The Snotling token instead deals a point of damage to the Blood Angels Veterans. Now we see Staging Ground exhaust. The Evil Sun's Warbiker comes into play. It takes a swing at the Blood Angels Veterans, but it's only attacking for 2 because there's no enemy Warlord present, and we saw a copy of Iron Halo discarded on the left, and that's going to prevent all of that damage dealt out to the Blood Angels Veterans. We see a new combat round begin. Our Space Marine only has 1 card in hand. It looks as though Zogwort only has 1 or maybe a couple cards in hand. The initiative token still belongs to Zogwort. He's got to manage to kill off all of these Space Marines, but it's looking like he doesn't have a tremendous wealth of units left. So it looks like for the very first attack, it's going to be this 1/1 Snotling token trying to take down a 10th Company Scout, and it is successful in doing so. We see the Blood Angels Veterans. I can only imagine that it's going to be not actually taking a swing. Veteran Brother Maxos kills the Evil Sun's Warbiker, and that's going to be a 1/2, a 0/2, and a 1/1 left on the right there for Zogwort. And the Iron Guard recruits is going to take a swing. They managed to kill off that other 10th Company Scout. The Blackmane Sentinel is left. It itself is going to take a swing. It's going to swing at the Talarn Raiders. The Talarn Raiders are destroyed. I can't think of anything that our Orc player could do. There's only that exhausted Staging Ground left. And the Blood Angels Veterans kills off that last lingering Snotling token, so things are looking desperate, dire, and dangerous here for our Space Marine player. The Eager Recruits deals out a point of damage successfully to Blackmane Sentinel. The Blood Angels Veterans kills off the Iron Guard Recruits, and that is going to be the game. So we see the GG there, so good game, very well played by both of our players. Congratulations to Alexander Cimadon for winning this game, but of course, thank you to both of our players for affording me the opportunity opportunity to commentate this video, and a personal thank you once again to Alexander for providing me with this footage in the first place. So, thank you for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, you're always encouraged to share this content, as the more shares, the more likes these videos receive, the more subscriptions my channel incurs, the more prominent I'll be in search rankings, the more likely new players are to stumble upon this game, give Conquest a try, like what they see, and of course, end up joining our community, and all together we just keep sending the message to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free to do so through Twitter or on Facebook, as I'm always on the lookout for games to spectate, commentate, and record. And if you want to be like Alexander and supply me with live-action isometric HD camera gameplay footage of your own, I'd be absolutely honored were you to approach me with such a thing. So if at any point you'd be so inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, I'd encourage you to check out my Patreon page. But with that said, thank you once again for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.